On May 17, 2026, the World Health Organization declared the Ebola virus disease outbreak caused by the Bundibujo virus in the DRC and Uganda, who therefore declared a public health emergency of international concern for both Uganda and DRC. We categorically want to commend our health workers who are already on the front line to manage this crisis. However, while we believe that the protection of lives is a priority, government must avoid panic-driven decisions that end up adversely affecting ordinary citizens more than the disease itself would do. We have seen the cancellation of Mother's Day national celebrations, and I think this is the first time it's happening, restrictions on gatherings, the lockdown of some parts of the country, such as the Greater Mubende areas, and the closure of businesses. We have also learned that the government has decided to close all borders with DRC. Ebola has existed in Uganda since the year 2000, so this is not the first outbreak. But every outbreak should strengthen our preparedness, instead of becoming an excuse for excessive restrictions and misuse of state funds. We want to caution government against repeating the mistakes made during the COVID-19 lockdowns, which left many Ugandans economically shattered and struggling to recover even up to today. It would therefore be irresponsible to impose harsh restrictions, again, without considering how citizens will survive. Government should prioritize measures that stop the spread of the disease while allowing Ugandans to continue earning a living wherever possible. The FDC also warns against corruption and abuse of public funds during this crisis. Ugandans remember how huge sums of money meant for COVID-19 response disappeared through inflated procurement and mismanagement. Finally, the World Health Organization has issued guidelines on how to prevent the spread of this virus, and we call upon all Ugandans to follow these guidelines. The FDC wishes to commit to the dissemination of these guidelines across the country. I will now turn on to the rising cost of fuel. Fuel prices across the country have escalated in recent weeks, believed to be caused by the conflict between the USA and Israel on one part and Iran on the other. Fuel prices have gone through the roof and have therefore affected commodity prices across the country. But whereas this is a crisis that is global, this is not the first crisis that we are facing as a country in as far as fuel is concerned. Our government has had more than 40 years to prepare for any fuel crisis, but it hasn't chosen to do so. Whereas Uganda may not be able to control these international price escalations, any functioning government maintains fuel reserves enough to sustain the country for at least 6 months without price increases, even as global prices rise. When the NRM government came to power in 1986, fuel reserves existed in this country. We had fuel reserves in Mbale, in Jinja, in Gulu, and other towns, major towns of the country, like Songola, huge fuel reserves. This evil government dismantled them and sold them to their friends, dubbed private investors. While knowing that fuel is a strategic commodity of this country, it is of security in nature. Just imagine a war broke out today between us and, say, Kenya and any other country, DRC or Sudan. What would we do without fuel reserves? You would need the jets to fly in the air. You need the infantry, the tanks, fuel guzzlers to move on the ground. You definitely lose this war. For the last 20 years, as a party, we have advised our friends in NRM to revive these reserves and possibly increase the capacity while strategically locating the said reserves. This is the right time for the NRM government to listen to our call and have reserves put in place. We also call upon the regime in Kampala to implement emergency tax waivers on fuel and fuel-dependent products with immediate effect to stabilize commodity prices. Finally, I would like to address the media and the country on Uganda's education system. Monday, May 25th, 2026 marks the start of the second term for primary and secondary schools for major schools across the country. Though the majority of schools started the term last week on Monday, the 18th, 2026, 18th May 2026. However, we have received various complaints, parents, students and pupils, over the current education system which we want to address. The current system is characterized by short school terms and very short holidays. Parents are constantly under pressure to raise school fees within a very short window of time, while students don't have enough holiday time to spend with parents and guardians at home. And those of you who pay school fees know that they are extremely exorbitant. In fact, children spend the majority of the year confined within school walls and return home for only 1 to 2 weeks. In short, save for the third term holidays, they live at school and only come home to visit for a week or two and go back. Children are growing up without time for any informal education. To make it worse, some schools retain candidate classes at school during holidays for coaching. And so, some end up not coming home at all. In addition, the current education system is producing examination candidates, young people who have spent years in classrooms, but who are disconnected from family, from community, and from reality. This is also affecting the quality of labor, the labor force across the country. Our proposal is that there be a restructuring of Uganda's school calendar to a two-term system in which children spend at least 4 months at school and 2 months at home, easing the financial burden on parents. It will create time between children and their families, so the children get the informal life skills that no classroom can provide. It would give children adequate time to rest, develop holistically, and grow up into well-rounded human beings rather than examination machines. Article 26 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948 defines education as a fundamental human right, and therefore it's the duty of governments to make education available and affordable. Most schools these days are very costly, making it difficult for ordinary Ugandans to afford.